Okay, Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. Just a real quick update. We had our little baby girl. She was born day before yesterday. Her name is Emerson Maria Isham, and we are blessed to have her part of our life. She is in the NICU right now. She's doing much better, but she definitely gave us a scare. Her oxygen levels were not good, and we had to transport her. And yesterday was an emotional day for us, to say the least. But we got good news this morning, and customers have been awesome, and just a complete outpouring of support and love and prayers, and that's just been amazing. So wanted to give everybody a slight update that's been looking at that. While also I promised that I would, before I went back today, give everybody, that I'll be back Monday, Tuesday at the latest, but probably Monday. I know we have a full crew out here, but some of the questions a lot of you guys are waiting on, only I can answer, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it's just what kind of comes with the job of doing what we do and who I am out here. So with that said, I'm going to be calling people back between today and tomorrow. My wife and I are switching basically baby time. There's only so much room in the NICU, so I had her all day yesterday and most of last night, and then I have my boy today and whatnot. So that's a little bit of what's going on in our life. And again, if you've tried to call and wondering why we're not answering our phone, well, first off, Fridays were closed. We had probably 140 calls yesterday on a day we've been closed for a few years now. I'm not upset at that. That's awesome. I love that. But I just want to let everybody know that we are normally not open Friday, where it's by appointment. And further on that, if I'm available, I always answer the phone, but I was not available, and that's why. So, okay. So we've had 3 TJs come in. All of them have had hardtops, and they've all sold. So we're out of TJ hardtops again. We do have a nice set of red doors. That TJ over there came out of Vegas. It's got a nice, beautiful, rust-free, unwrecked frame under it that may be available. And I say may because that Jeep, we might fix it as a blown motor right now, but it's a hard Jeep to find, just because TJs have been getting hard to find, especially rust-free ones. So there's a possibility that one will go to parts, but not 100%. We have this blue one. That top has sold as well. Those doors are available. Those are the blue doors. We have a set of black doors there that are TJ, that are more shells, and we would sell those individually if somebody's looking for a single. Set of half doors next to it. Those are YJ doors. 8, that's going to be CJ7, YJ, and CJ8. So 76 to 95. And I also have 3 pairs of TJ half doors at the moment, which are been hard to get. So those are nice. And then we have the one Jeep on the right, which is a customer's Jeep, so that's not available. And then the one in between, that black one without the hard top, that is available. That does have a nice set of black doors on it. That's available for parts, although most of the parts on that one are actually going to go on the customer's Jeep to the right, as far as the tub and frame go. Doing the big swap there. So that gives you a little bit of what's been going on the past couple of weeks before baby girl came. And then I got this Jeep. This is a 1970 CJ5. I've actually picked a few of these up. Doing a pretty big job on the customers. And this one is probably one of the more unique CJ5s we picked up. Picked it up for a little bit more than we like to spend on a Jeep, but it had a lot of goodies on it. A lot more goodies than we normally get. And I want to go over those with everybody. Let you know this Jeep is available for parts. I am going to send it to a customer first, and in some ways give him dibs on some of the parts. And one thing real quick is this roll bar. Now, this is a pretty aggressive full cage, and I know we were talking about possibly going away from that, or if we and going to the factory one that I told you about that I have in the back, which is just like a standard bar. But if you wanted to, your roll bar is not only ugly, but not built very well. So I could definitely get you this one, and shouldn't change the cost too much on it. maybe a couple $100, but and that may not be true. I'll have to look, because that factory one is built into there, and those are hard to find too. So, okay. But in addition to that, the first thing that anybody that knows the 1970 knows that there's never been one that has had a column come out. This one, now this one wasn't done very well as far as cleanly. Okay, and I know the dash that you're having your Jeep hasn't been either. So this dash could be saved, although I would suggest that if we end up going the direction I'm gonna show you here in a second, that we put a later dash in it. Dimensionally will still fit in the same, but it won't have this diamond plate, and it'll just be a nice clean look. I am 6'3", and one thing I wanted to ask, and I in your particular build that we're doing for you, is to make sure you're not as tall as I am. And if you are, then you've already accepted the fact that these are hard to drive as a tall person, and it is what it is. But hopefully you're not as tall, and because the guys who are a little shorter than me, my buddies, love these things. I can barely drive this thing, and it cramps me up just being in it. I'm like sitting in it sideways right now. Hard to get in, it's hard to get out of, and it's hard to drive because of that. So now this one is going to be a great template for us in some aspects, even though we're going to be using different parts, because it was unique how they did a lot of parts on it. They hung the pedals, which is something we're going to do on yours. I was not going to use a column like this, although it could be done, and you could even find a tilt, although tilt would be significantly more expensive. This is actually an automatic column that they converted over. I would get this adapter they have, this huge space here, and get this wheel back into the more, so you'd have a little bit more room there. I think they did that for this guy, because the factory wheel would be bigger, but it would allow this turn signal lever to be sit there and not have to be moved. So more or less this video is just to look at things that you may want. You know, I don't want you looking at a video and thinking, why didn't he, you know, offer this to me? Well, this thing just came in like after we last talked. So it's got a nice soft top on it, like brand new almost. And they've done the doors almost like a permanent door, but the framing is all there. And I don't know if you even want anything like that, but it's there if you do, as an option. Although I've had a lot of interest on some of these parts, and I would like to move because I have way too much in this Jeep. My purpose of buying this thing was to get a good motor that we could go through and do what we intended to do with the motor that I bought recently and found out that was bad. So that's already, you know, said and done. Jerry's got it pulled, and he started tearing it down to do a complete rebuild on it while I was gone the last couple of days. So, but the tires and wheels are like brand new, and I believe there's a set of 5 of these guys. And before I mention these, it's not matching on the rear spare. But before I say this, one thing to note is this is a spring over axle, and that's why it's lifted up so high. This is not done the right way for somebody who's wanting to do this as a daily driver. A spring over axle with real flexible springs on it like this one has, causes them to bind up, kind of load up in a sense. And in a wheeling sense, no big deal. I mean, it makes some noises, but in a drivable sense, it's not only annoying, but definitely not good for things. So I would recommend not going with spring over axle. If we did go to spring over axle, because this is just something you love the way it sits, then I would say we need to reconfigure some of the drivetrain things we quoted, and put some trailing arms. There's some advantages to doing it like this, because this has got rear disc brakes, which they don't even make the kit anymore for, so that's kind of cool. And I know that's something you mentioned, although not necessarily necessary, but it is available. It's the flange 44 offset like yours originally had, and then the front is the 30 that we were going to upgrade to anyway, or something like it. And then of course the steering has been done on this one. This frame is absolutely beautiful, and it was done pretty well. I mean, there's probably some areas we clean up a little bit. I'd almost suggest, even though the parts would be more, it would offset some of the labor, that we could look at this one as a possible swap underneath everything else you have on yours. I need Jim to really go through this and make sure that this wasn't just set up to wheel in, and that the angles are proper, and that it's not only, you know, longevity but also safe. If it checks out in that aspect, then I definitely would say this is a possibility to do, and it opened it up for you to do a different, same but different steering, power steering conversion, as well as steering overall upgrade on it. It does have a shackle reversal, which actually I'm a fan of those. I like that. It makes them ride a little bit nicer. Yeah, this is probably a little bit much aggressive for tires. If you're going to be doing any kind of 45 plus, these are probably going to wander around horribly, make a ton of noise. But if it's, you know, going to be trailered to trails and just use around town to go get ice cream on Sundays, yeah, you could run these. They're not cheap tires. Mickey Thompson, Baja MTZs are got to be probably up there in a couple $100 a pop, but I haven't checked on those in a while. And then of course those wheels. Now I have 3 people that have their name on the list for these tires and wheels, and the only thing is, I mentioned to them is that as long as you don't use them in your project, you don't want them or pay extra for them, then we're not going to go to these for that for yours, and I'll release them. But I don't want to offer you some things on this and not everything. If it's something you're interested in, I'll build you pricing on it. But I do want you to see, if you notice that the axle is forward on this, they probably did that for a few reasons. One, for clearance, and then also for a little bit more stability by pushing out. They may have done it for steering angles. I'm not 100% on that. We haven't really got into that side of it. Like I said, I drove this Jeep and I really went after the motor on it, and then in process found the rest of it. So the fuel tank is hanging on the underside, although it wasn't done cleanly, so that would need to be redone if we did end up using this frame or something like it. We don't need to use this frame. Your frame is perfectly fine, but this does have some advantages to doing it this way. So the extra cost on parts, you won't see it. Let's just put it that way, because it's as long as it checks out. And again, I also have to have Jim go through this particular setup and the way they did the angles, geometry on it. But if it does, then this might be a possibility to offset, you know, the labor with the added parts that are under this. Now, one of the added parts that's under this one is it is a 4-speed that's in this, but it's a T18, so it's the big boy. T18s are extremely hard to get into CJ5s because of the length of them. So I would say, because it's been done, that's kind of cool. The transmission cost, yes, it's more, but again, because it's already in this setting as a rolling chassis, if we were to basically pop the tub off this one and redo, make this more of a friendly build as far as the suspension, put the axles back up underneath the the springs back up underneath the axle, so it'd be a spring under like it originally was. You lose the height. This one sits pretty high, and if you like that look, then I'd say we keep it and we just reconfigure it to where it's more roadworthy. But if you don't, and to me, I don't know, yours already has a little bit of a lift, so I'm not even entirely sure I would do it this way. And before I promise you everything on it, I think the main purpose of this video is just to show you some of the extra things on this, and see if there's anything else that you want on this before I list this guy, because like I said, these are the parts that are going to go quick on them. So you have a much better tub, fenders, hood, grill, all that stuff, and the motor we've already pulled. So, but anyway, that's it. So it's got a T18 with a Model 18 transfer case, which is the same transfer case you have. It could have had something done inside of that. I'm not entirely sure about that. I don't know if it's the 4-to-1 transmission or the 632. Could have that one, the ultra low. We'll know that here in a few days. It does have rear disc brakes with the flange 44 in the rear, and then the upgraded open knuckle 30 in the front. So in theory, we could still do what we were talking about doing. Use your frame, use these axles, and this transmission, which would be a substantial upgrade to what the T176 is. Or we can just use the engine. And that's the way I originally, that's the way I was planning on doing it. Just like I said, when I got back, I was like, oh, you know what? Some pretty neat things on this one that we might consider. So this is the overall look of it. I think it looks great. It's a cool looking Jeep. Some things are better than others, and others need to be finished. So anybody out there that doesn't exactly know or following along with what I'm talking about, we have a customer's Jeep here that we're doing a lot of the upgrades that this Jeep has had on his Jeep as well. And if nothing else, this gives us a cool template and baseline to see, like, you know, it could look like this, or it could look a little less aggressive with not as big of a lift. This one sits up perfect height. I love the height of it. It looks great. But it might be a little too aggressive for the kind of build we were originally going after on yours. So that's just the kind of stuff to keep in mind. If you fall in love with the way it looks, then yeah, let's look at it and see, will this increase the cost much? I don't think it will, because I think, like I said, the little bit of increase on part-wise should be offsetted by labor, with this already being done in some aspects, and not every of them, but some of them, and whatnot. So that's where we're at with this. I have a not pop covers. It could be locked inside, it could be fully locked inside. Definitely is not electric locked or air locked. It could have two tracks, it could have nothing, could be open. If it's fully locked, full spools or anything like that, it's going to be way too aggressive. So I won't even know on that until we get that in. Which with the baby and stuff, it's probably going to be a week out before we get this guy back in and take a look at that stuff. But Jerry is doing full-blown build right now on that engine. And Jim will be in here on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week when I'm back, and be starting on, if nothing else, yours, as far as the geometry set up on it. Mine is just crazy out here right now. And I have an appointment I'm going to have to run to. So anyway, 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. For anybody who doesn't know us or curious about parts on that Jeep or anything else I mentioned in this video, give us a call. Just be patient with us, especially this week. And love, support, prayers. We appreciate all that. 303-666-9020. Happy New Year. It is the 6th of January. I think, is it 6th or 7th? 7th. Oh, 6th. So she was born yesterday, just real early in the morning. All right. Thank you.